What if I told you that tomorrow doesn't actually exist? No, I don't mean that in some philosophical, live-in-the-moment kind of way. I mean mathematically, physically. Most people believe time flows forward like a river, a steady ticking clock pushing us all into the future. Wrong. That is not just a little wrong, it is fundamentally, universe-breakingly wrong. Here is the terrifying truth about the universe. Gravity doesn't just pull apples off trees, it eats the future. If you pack enough mass into one spot, the fabric of reality bends so violently that the concept of tomorrow is mathematically erased. It stretches out toward infinity and simply stops arriving. And you have felt this. You are feeling it right now. Gravity is aging you unevenly. Your feet, being closer to the Earth's core, are literally younger than your head. By the end of this video, you will never look at a clock the same way again. I'm going to show you how time isn't a ticking metronome, but a physical fabric. A fabric that can be stretched, twisted, and under extreme mass, completely destroyed. Let me show you. Let's start with a lie. The biggest lie you live every single day. You think right now is a universal thing. You assume that as you watch this video, someone on Mars is having a right now at the exact same moment. That time is a giant, invisible metronome ticking across the entire cosmos. Tick, tick, tick. Wrong. That metronome does not exist. Here's the part nobody tells you about time. Now is purely a local illusion. Try this right now. Close your eyes and imagine a massive rubber sheet stretched tight across a dark room. Imagine placing heavy bowling balls on it, then tiny glass marbles. Every single object bends the sheet. It warps the fabric. That sheet, that is space-time. Einstein didn't just say time is relative. He said time is a physical dimension. It's a literal fabric. You can stretch it, you can twist it, you can jiggle it, and most importantly, you can slow it down. Look at your hand. Right now, the atoms in your fingers are moving through time at a different speed than the atoms in your toes. Why? Because time is violently glued to space. They are the exact same thing. And mass pulls that fabric. Hold on. Stop and actually think about what that means. If time is a physical fabric, it has physical limits. It means time isn't a river flowing around you. You are dragging yourself through it. But this is where your intuition completely fails. If you move fast, you bend that fabric. Time slows down. If you stand near something heavy, you bend that fabric. Time slows down. This isn't a metaphor. It is a harsh mathematical reality. Physicists call it time dilation. But that's just a label, a safe, boring textbook word. What it actually means is your future and my future are not on the same schedule. They can be stretched, pulled apart, snapped out of sync. So if mass can stretch time, what happens when you get too much mass? What happens when you stack so much density that the fabric cannot handle the weight? Gravity doesn't just bend the clock, it threatens to stop the clock completely. But to understand how gravity mathematically murders tomorrow, we first have to unlearn what gravity actually is. You think gravity is a magnet, a force yanking you down. Wrong. You think gravity is a force, a giant invisible rubber band stretching from the center of the earth, yanking you down to the floor. Isaac Newton told you that. Your high school teacher told you that. Wrong. Newton was a genius, but on this, he was completely blind. Let me tell you about a moment in 1907. Albert Einstein is sitting in a patent office in Bern. He has a sudden realization. He later called it the happiest thought of my life. It is the secret to why the future can stop. He realized if you fall off a roof, you don't feel gravity. Think about this. If you are in an elevator and the cable snaps, you float. Your phone floats next to you. you are completely weightless. If gravity is a massive force yanking you down, why do you feel zero force when you surrender to it? That sounds impossible until you see the trick. Here is the truth. Gravity does not exist as a pull. Gravity is simply the shape of the universe. Remember that rubber sheet from earlier? The heavy bowling ball doesn't pull the marbles. It curves the sheet. The marbles just roll along the easiest path. The curve pushes them down. Earth's mass warps the space-time around it. You aren't being pulled to the ground. You are slipping down a geometric funnel. Space-time is literally flowing into the Earth, and you are trapped in the current. But wait, the math gets weirder. Because you are moving through space-time, you have to obey its ultimate speed limit, the speed of light. C equals 299,792,458 meters per second. That isn't just the speed of light. It is the combined speed of reality. Everything in the universe is constantly moving through space-time at exactly that combined speed. If you sit perfectly still on your couch, you are moving through time at maximum speed. But when you move through space, you have to borrow speed from your movement through time. The more you move through space, the less you move through time. Now, combine these two terrifying facts. Mass curves space. Curving space creates motion. Motion steals from time. Do you see the trap closing? Gravity forces you to move through curved space, which literally bleeds away your time. And we didn't just calculate this on a dusty chalkboard. We built machines to prove it. Machines that are sitting in your pocket right now. Let me show you the proof. Pull out your phone right now. Open your map app. Look at that glowing little blue dot showing exactly where you are standing. You probably think that's just a simple satellite signal pinging back and forth. A digital compass. Wrong. That blue dot is a live, real-time feed of Einstein's relativity bending the universe. It is absolute proof that gravity is actively eating your time. Let me explain. There are dozens of GPS satellites hurtling around the Earth right now. They are essentially just giant, ultra-precise flying atomic clocks. But here is the critical problem. They are 20,000 kilometers away from the Earth's surface. Why does that matter? Because down here on the ground, we are sitting deep inside Earth's gravitational curve. We are stuck at the bottom of a mild space-time dent. Those satellites, they are floating high up near the edge of that dent, where gravity is vastly weaker. This is where your intuition completely fails. Because gravity is weaker up there, space-time is barely stretched, which means time literally moves faster for those satellites than it does for your phone. Let me say that again because it should break your brain. A clock in space ticks faster than a clock on your desk. Every single day, the clocks on those satellites jump exactly 38 microseconds ahead of us down here. Tomorrow mathematically arrives faster in orbit than it does in your bedroom. Wait, stop. 38 microseconds? You might say that sounds like absolutely nothing, a rounding error. But at the speed of light, 38 microseconds of error means your map would drift by 11 kilometers every single day. If engineers didn't actively program Einstein's time-bending math into your phone, global navigation would crash completely by next week. This isn't a theory. We actually proved this. We are mathematically correcting for gravity altering the future, right now, in your pocket. But Earth is pathetic. A microscopic speck of dust. Its gravity only bends time by a fraction of a microsecond. Now watch what this implies. What if we swap the Earth for a collapsed dead star? What if we drop a mass 1 billion times heavier onto our space-time fabric? The dent doesn't just get deeper, it creates a sinkhole. So far we've learned that a heavy object creates a gentle dent. Earth merely bends time. But what happens when you crush a giant star, 1 million times bigger than our sun, into a single point? People say black holes suck things in. That's just a label. A vacuum cleaner sucks. A black hole does not suck. Wrong. Here is the truth. A black hole isn't pulling space, it is destroying it. It isn't a hole, it's a cliff, a sheer drop in the fabric of the universe. Let's zoom out to the cosmic scale. If Earth is a tiny glass marble sitting on our rubber sheet, a black hole is a mountain made of pure lead dropped directly onto the fabric. The sheer weight of it stretches the rubber so violently that the dent becomes a bottomless pit, a sinkhole of geometry. Gravity here isn't a gentle slope, it is a waterfall. The fabric of space-time is flowing inward, pouring into the center faster than you could possibly imagine. Imagine you are standing on a raft in a river. The river is flowing slowly. You can paddle upstream to escape. This is Earth's gravity. You can build a rocket and blast away at 11 kilometers per second, escape velocity. But as you get closer to the waterfall, the river speeds up. It flows faster and faster until the water is plunging over the edge at the exact speed of light. No matter how hard you paddle, you are moving backward. Even light itself, the fastest thing in existence, is forced down the drain. Now watch what this implies for you and me. Because space and time are the exact same fabric, if space is plunging into the black hole at the speed of light, time is plunging with it. You think gravity just holds you down, but the math is clear. dt equals dt0 from 1 minus RC22 gm. Look at that formula. That is time dilation. That is the exact moment reality snaps. As the radius r shrinks, the mass m crushes the space until the bottom half of the equation zeroes out. Time slows. A second becomes a minute becomes an hour becomes a century. You might think a black hole crushes you to death instantly. Wrong. It's exactly the opposite. Before it crushes your body, it freezes your existence. It forces you to watch the entire universe age and die around you while you are frozen like a bug trapped in amber. Let me show you the exact borderline where tomorrow officially dies, the edge of never. If you understand this next part, you understand Einstein better than 99% of humanity. We are standing at the edge of the sinkhole. The river of space-time is rushing past our feet at precisely the speed of light. We call this invisible mathematical borderline the event horizon. It is the most violent, terrifying boundary in existence. People say an event horizon is a physical wall, a dark sphere of crushed matter. Wrong. It is not a physical object at all. It is simply a coordinate in space where the math of reality breaks. It is the point where the escape velocity of the universe exceeds the speed of light. If light can't outrun the waterfall, neither can your future. Let me tell you a story. Imagine you and I are astronauts floating near a supermassive black hole. I stay safely on our ship, millions of miles away. You volunteer to jump in. You put on a spacesuit equipped with a giant digital clock that I can see through my telescope. You fall toward the black hole. At first, everything looks normal. You are falling faster and faster. You wave at me. I wave back. But as you get closer to the event horizon, a strange, horrifying optical illusion begins. From my perspective on the ship, you start to slow down. Hold on. Stop and actually think about what that means. You are accelerating toward the most massive object in the galaxy. But to me, you look like you are braking. Your clock was ticking normally. Tick, tick, tick. Now it's ticking. Tick, tick, tick. I watch your hand moving in slow motion. Your wave takes hours, then days, then years. Why? Because the light bouncing off your clock has to fight upstream against the space-time waterfall to reach my eyes. The gravity is pulling the very fabric of time out from under the light. Eventually, you reach the exact edge, the event horizon. To me, you stop completely. You freeze. Your clock never ticks again. Your arm is frozen mid-wave forever. You slowly turn red as the light stretches into infrared, and then you fade into nothingness. To me, your tomorrow mathematically never arrives. You become a permanent ghost on the surface of the black hole. I will grow old and die, the universe will burn out, and you will still be frozen there. But what happened from your perspective? Did you feel time stop? Did you freeze? Wrong. You fell right through. Here is the part nobody tells you about the edge of never. For you, the fall was terrifyingly quick. You crossed the horizon in seconds. But if time didn't stop for you, and it stopped for me, whose reality is the truth? This is where your intuition fails completely, because the answer is both. Inside the horizon, the math flips, the rules change. Space and time swap places. I am going to show you exactly how that works, and it will give you chills. People say relativity is just a confusing theory. They think it's just wordplay, a philosophical trick. Wrong. It is a mathematical guillotine, and right now it is slicing through your intuition. We just watched you fall into the black hole. To me, on the ship, you froze at the edge. Your time stopped. But to you, falling in, your watch kept ticking normally. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. How can both be true? How can your tomorrow be destroyed for me, but perfectly normal for you? This is the secret. The universe does not care about your experience. It only cares about the math of space-time. Let's look at the equation that breaks the universe. Karl Schwarzschild solved Einstein's equations while sitting in the trenches of World War I. He found the exact metric for a black hole. It looks like a mess of symbols. ds2 equals minus 1 minus rrs c2 dt2 plus 1 minus rrs minus 1 dr2. But wait, the math gets weirder. Look closely at those two terms. The first chunk controls time, dt. The second chunk controls space, dr. The letter r is your distance from the center of the black hole. The letter r is the event horizon, the edge of never. Here's the terrifying trick. What happens when you fall inward and your distance r becomes exactly equal to the event horizon rs? The math blows up. 1 minus rs equals 1 minus 1 equals 0. The first piece of the equation, the time part, becomes 0. Time as a coordinate mathematically zeroes out. It ceases to exist for an outside observer. But the second piece, the space part, becomes divided by 0. 1 minus 1 minus 1 equals 0. It explodes into infinity. Space stretches infinitely, while time compresses to 0. This isn't a theory. We actually proved this mathematically. The fabric of reality snaps at the horizon. Hold on. Stop and actually think about what that implies. If time hits 0 and space hits infinity, what happens when you cross that line? What happens when you go inside the event horizon, where r is smaller than rs? The equation doesn't just break, it does something far more horrifying. It flips its signs. A positive becomes a negative becomes a positive. The coordinate for time swaps with the coordinate for space. Let me say that again because it should break your brain. Inside a black hole, space and time physically switch roles. You are no longer moving through space. Space becomes a moment in time. That sounds impossible until you see the trick. Let me show you the ultimate nightmare inside the sinkhole. You are officially inside the black hole. The event horizon is above you. The crushing singularity is below you. You look at your hands. You feel completely normal. Wrong. You are no longer in a place. You are in a time. This is where your intuition completely fails. People say the singularity, the center of a black hole, is a tiny, ultra-dense ball of matter sitting at the bottom of the sinkhole, a physical object, a place you can travel to. But wait, the math gets weirder. Remember the equation from a minute ago? The one that flipped inside out? When you cross the event horizon, the math dictates that the radius, the distance to the center, is no longer a spatial coordinate. Let me say that again, because it should break your brain. Inside a black hole, the center is not a place. It is a point in time. It is your inevitable future. Here's the part nobody tells you about gravity. Outside a black hole, you can move left, right, up, or down. You can choose your path through space, but you cannot choose your path through time. You are dragged into the future, second by second, whether you like it or not. Inside the black hole, the universe pulls off the ultimate magic trick. Because space and time have swapped roles, you can now move freely through time. You can see the past of the universe falling in behind you, but you can no longer choose your path through space. Space is dragging you inward, relentlessly, inevitably, just like time used to drag you forward on Earth. The singularity is no longer down. The singularity is tomorrow. Hold on, stop, and actually think about what that means. Try to avoid tomorrow. Try it right now. Can you dodge Tuesday? Can you sidestep next year? No, it comes for you, no matter what you do. That is what the singularity is. It is a moment in your future. You cannot turn left to avoid it. You cannot fire your rockets backward to escape it. Every single direction you look, every single path you take, mathematically points to the exact same future, the singularity. Gravity has warped space-time so violently that it has taken the concept of forward and mapped it directly onto inward. Tomorrow mathematically never arrives because your tomorrow has been replaced by the center of the black hole. That sounds impossible until you see the trick. The future hasn't just been destroyed, it has been replaced by geometry. But this brings up a terrifying question about the universe we live in right now. If a black hole can swap space and time, what if the rest of the universe is already playing a similar trick on us? Are we stuck in the past? Let's back out of the black hole for a second. Let's return to the surface of the Earth. You are sitting in a chair watching a video on a glowing screen. Everything feels perfectly normal. The math feels safe here. Wrong. The math is never safe. The same time-warping rules that swapped space and time inside a black hole are operating on you right now. It's just a matter of scale. Look at the sun out your window. You think you are seeing the sun right now. But light takes 8 minutes to travel from the sun to the Earth. When you look at the sun, you are seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago. If the sun exploded right this second, you would live in completely oblivious bliss for 8 full minutes before the sky went dark. Now look further. Look up at a star in the night sky. The light from a star like Sirius takes 8.6 years to reach us. You are seeing an 8-year-old ghost. But wait, the math gets weirder. Here's the part nobody tells you about looking into space. Because gravity bends space-time, the light from distant stars has to fight its way out of millions of gentle, invisible sinkholes across the galaxy. It gets stretched. It slows down. Every single photon hitting your eye is a tiny time capsule carrying a delayed future. You are completely, irrevocably trapped in a bubble of the past. There is no such thing as now in the universe. Your now is entirely built out of other things' pasts. Hold on. Stop and actually think about what that means. If everything you see is old news, how do you know what the actual, objective state of the universe is right now? You can't, because gravity doesn't just bend the future, it scrambles the present. Einstein's great revelation wasn't just a neat trick for GPS satellites. It was the realization that you are fundamentally isolated in your own unique pocket of time. No two objects in the universe share the exact same temporal rhythm. The gravity of the Earth, the Sun, the galaxy, they are all conspiring to keep you exactly where you are, slightly out of sync with everything else. You are experiencing a customized, slightly delayed version of reality. And that is the exact moment reality snaps. Because if time is just a local, stretched, warped illusion, What does that mean for the fundamental nature of existence? Let me show you the deep truth about reality. We started this journey with a massive lie, the illusion of now. We stretched a rubber sheet, watched gravity bend it, and saw GPS satellites fighting to keep their clocks straight. We fell into a black hole, saw the math snap, and watched space and time swap places. So far, we've learned that gravity isn't a force pulling you down. It's the shape of the universe stealing your future. But why does any of this matter to you? People say physics is just numbers on a chalkboard, that it doesn't affect real life. Wrong. It affects every single moment of your existence. Think about someone you love, someone sitting in the same room as you right now. Because they are sitting slightly further from the center of the earth, or moving slightly faster than you, their time is flowing at a microscopic fraction of a second differently than yours. You are not truly sharing the exact same now. You are sharing close approximations of it. We are all fundamentally lonely time travelers, drifting through our own personal warped bubbles of space-time. Here's the part nobody tells you about the future. The future isn't a place we are all going together. The future is a localized, geometric event that arrives for each of us on a slightly different schedule. And for some things in the universe, like a black hole, it mathematically never arrives at all. It's not just a quirk of relativity. It's the architecture of existence. Gravity is the ultimate editor of reality. It dictates what can happen, when it can happen, and if it will ever happen. It bends the stage so violently that the actors can never truly sync their lines. And that is the terrifying, beautiful truth. The universe doesn't care about our clocks. It doesn't care about our schedules. It only cares about the relentless curving geometry of space-time. Hold on, stop, and actually think about what that means tonight when you look at the stars. You aren't looking at a static painting. You are looking at a messy, warped, delayed mosaic of histories. And out there in the dark, where the gravity gets too heavy, tomorrow has already died. If this broke your brain in the best way possible, make sure you hit subscribe, because the universe is infinitely weirder than you think, and I'm just getting started showing you how. I'll see you in the next one, whenever your now decides to arrive.